Welcome to Chats with David and Morris. We are honored to have our guest today, Corey. And Corey, please give us your full name, when and where you were born.
First of all, thank you for letting me be your guest. My name is Corey Jackson. I am a housekeeper here at Botwell's. I'm one of the leads here, and I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm a big Tar Heel fan. So that's pretty much a little bit about me.
And growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, who was your greatest inspiration?
Growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, my mother was actually my greatest inspiration. I loved, my mother did everything great, and I really looked up to her. So in the home, it would be my mother.
And when and why did your family move to Minnesota?
Well, when I was about 7 years old, my mom and dad had gotten a divorce when I was younger. And we had family up here. So then, of course, we had most of my family had migrated from the south up to Minnesota, most of us. So then from there, my mom just decided one day to say, hey, son, we're gonna move the family and we're gonna try in Minnesota. And here I am.
And Corey, when did you first become aware of discrimination against you because of the color of your skin?
Now, when you ask that, are we talking about growing up in the South as a child? Or are you talking about here in Minnesota?
Both places.
Well, I became a student of discrimination and racism at a young age. My mom was born in Beaufort, South Carolina. And growing up, she used to tell my brothers and I, because I come from a family of 5. So I have 5 brothers. So there's 6 of us total. So yeah, it's a big extended family for boys, but she would teach us kids. She'd sit down and talk to us about the things that her mother went through, discrimination and racism and things that were predominantly down in the South, because the South is a predominantly racist, they discriminate a lot in the South, and to this day they do things like that as well.
And who gave you the talk? And by that, I mean telling you what to do, for example, if the police pulled you over.
Well, that was a combination of my mom and my other dad when my mom got remarried. She sat me down, us boys individually, and talked to us, but then she talked to us as a group. So we got two talkings about that. As far as that, but it was predominantly my mom.
And what did she tell you?
Well, she talked about some of the injustices and things that are happening in this world as I was growing, myself and my young brothers were growing up, and she used to teach us how to talk to people. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We were told that you don't talk back to people. To stay away from conflict and don't, have an attitude when people are speaking with you, because if you do that, you're already inciting stuff to get started. So she taught us kids how to handle ourselves and give us a lot of street savvy and street smarts as well as we were growing up.
And present day, what was the effect of George Floyd's murder by Minneapolis police on you?
Well, obviously it was a very sad day. It was a very traumatic thing, when I saw, obviously you see the video and you see the things that the officer did. It was very shocking and it was very disturbing for me, and it was very hurtful. I feel bad for that family, and some of the things that transpired on that recording or on the body cam were just very, very sickening.
And do you remember in particular when you were singled out because of your race and the discrimination was open and blatant?
Now, are we talking about, just in general and
In general, yes.
Well, yeah, well, yes. I mean, when I would go shopping, people, store clerks would look at you like we're gonna steal something, or, to this day, I can even talk about to this day. I go into stores and, sometimes people are always watching, they're looking over just make sure that I'm not, touching anything or taking anything, or, they give you that look like you don't, you can't pay for it, and I've experienced some of that type of stuff. I've endured, I have heard people call me out of my name. I've heard people say that, that I should go back to the South, and, just epithets of that nature. I've dealt with that.
And going through adulthood and high school education, how much talk was there among family and friends about racism?
Oh, much in our household. I mean, obviously, I had high school up here, but growing up when we moved here in Minnesota, when I was, eight and a half, that would be a predominantly thing we'd talk about, especially at the dinner table with my grandfather, my grandma, my mom, my dad. I mean, we had numerous talks about the things that were happening as far as to that extent.
Were there any blind spots?
As far as things missed?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, growing up, I think my mom and my dad and, my peoples that educated me in the things that are happening, I don't really think there were blind spots, but I think more of it is when they tell you something happened and then you don't, and then when you experience that or you've been a victim of that, I think that it throws you off guard. So I wouldn't really call it blind spots. It's just, having the experience to understand that and how to react to that situation.
But there was open discussion about how you would be treated by white people.
Oh, absolutely. Perfect example. Here's a perfect example. Because of my mother used to say, because of your skin color, you're going to have to work 3 times harder than the average person, whether it be a promotion, whether it be a job, or when you get that when you get that assignment, people are going to be expecting you to work 3 times harder than the average man or woman.
Shifting gears, Corey, where did your interest in sports come from, and particularly in basketball?
Well, I grew up, like I said, we have 2 things just really quick. We have the old school generation of basketball with Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, and, I could sit here and name it for you. And then we have the new generation of basketball. And I'm going to be honest with you, the new generation of basketball is nothing compared to what the old school generation of basketball is. So I was more interested in like I said, Jordan, Bird, Magic. Those are the players, Oscar Robinson, all those famous great players. So that's where my liking of basketball came. I always wanted to be like Magic Johnson. Boy, that man could pass. So I always wanted to be like him.
And so if I said, do you know who is from the, who the hick is from the French Lick, you know who that would be?
Yeah, that'd be Larry Bird. Oh yeah, we got Hoosiers in here. I know the history of Hoosiers and all about that. I know.
Now, you played basketball also in high school.
Yes, I did.
What position?
I played point guard, and I played 2 guard, which is the shooting guard position.
And any interest in going on to college to pursue a career maybe in professional basketball?
Well, yeah, I think when we all pick up a basketball at a young age, we all inspire to be like the next Jordan or the next LeBron or whoever the person, or the next Kobe or. But for me, I was great in high school, but I got injured, and hurt my knee in high school. So obviously when you get injured, sometimes you don't get as many offers as you want, or maybe sometimes you just don't get any offers at all because they don't want you.
Now, have you been following what's been happening with the Wolves and an attempt by what other sports figure there is who's trying to buy the team?
Oh yeah, you're talking about Alex Rodriguez and his
Can you talk about that?
Yes. No. You've been very up on the Wolves. He supposedly has an agreement to buy the team, and he's going to be the next owner. But Glenn Taylor put some restrictions on the team that he's going to continue to be the owner for the next 2 or 3 years, and they cannot move the team out of Minnesota. But there's been some talk that a lot of the insiders think that Alex Rodriguez and his group are going to try to move the Wolves to a different state.
Rodriguez is a baseball player.
Yeah, he is. He has a big time. He likes basketball, but he's a baseball player, and he's also an analyst on ESPN.
And a millionaire.
And a millionaire too, and I wish I had his money too. But yeah, no doubt.
I mean, there were big bucks offered for the sale of the team.
Yeah, well, yeah, he can't. He has money to buy the team, but he also had to get some partners to go in too, because Glenn Taylor wants big bucks for the Wolves, big bucks.
What else might you say and talk about regarding other sports in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area?
Well,
How about women's team, the Lynx?
oh man, as Patty will tell you in my previous sports shows, I am big on the Lynx, but I was very disappointed that we finally got our first win the other night. We just won our first game the other night, but I think it's going to take a little while for the new pieces to gel a little bit. We got a great team on paper, but obviously the game is played on the court, not paper.
Did you read about that tennis player who withdrew from the French Open?
Yeah, her name is.
What did you think about
Yeah,
that?
Naomi Osaka was I believe, the tennis player, and I did see that, and I was shocked. But again, I understand the reasons why she's doing that.
Why?
Because depression is a big deal, and again, we're going to talk about mental health and mental awareness, and I think that right now people's mental state is not very good. She had stated that after she, had that U.S. win open against, I believe, or Australian, whatever one, but she had played Serena Williams a couple years back, and
Yes.
she the crowd was booing her, and because obviously we know Serena Williams is the greatest tennis player ever right now, and a lot of fans didn't like to see her lose, and she had that meltdown in the game with the referee and yelling at the referee, and it just got really bad. And I think that she said some of that started her trend on her depression and her mental awareness and her mental health.
How about, do you follow the Vikings or the Twins?
Oh yeah, I watch them both, and the Vikings. The thing I love the Vikings. Oh, I shouldn't say I love. Well, I like the Vikings and I like the Twins, but again, it's the same thing every year. We'll get them next year. We'll win next year. I want to know when we're actually as a community. Well, not just because of sports, but as a community, that we're going to be recognized for being Minnesotans. Minnesota's a good place to live. Minnesota's a good place to play. So I'm hoping down the line that Minnesota can get some respect.
Did you know that I was famous because I once got 2 hits off Dick Raditz, a Boston Red Sox pitcher?
No, I did not know that. Boy, I wish I could be you.
I was
Oh.
in high school, and I managed to get out of the way of 2 of his fastballs,
Wow.
and I got 2 hits.
Wow. I bet you take them anytime you can get them.
That poor guy also, I think, died not too long ago. He fell down the stairs and broke his neck.
Oh, wow.
That's horrible.
Wow, that's horrible.
Shifting gears once again, you also are an animal owner, a cat owner. Tell us how that relationship started.
Well, my mother, had cats in the household. My mom had a dog, but this was before I was born. Then she had a cat, and I love the cats. We had a cat named Smokey. He was black and white, and boy, did we adore that cat. So then, so we had Smokey for a while, and then, obviously, when Smokey died, my mom got another cat. So, I've always loved cats. I love dogs too, but I'm more into tune with cats, because cats are a little easier to take care of. They know where to go to the bathroom. They know where the food is, and you can just kind of let them be,
What's the value of relationship with an animal like that?
Well, I think having any type of relationship, as you have Morris over there, which is an incredible dog of yours there, I think that we tend to understand, animals tend to understand us. I think we get to know the animal. I think having a bond with an animal is so great. They're just like having a child. you know. And the good thing is they don't talk back sometimes when you tell them to do something, unless Morris barks at you when you tell them to do something. So I don't know, but
Oh, he bites me.
oh, well, see, then, yeah, so that, you know, my cat used to do that too. He used to play bite with me too, but I can't stress enough, especially in this time and age of mental, you know, depression and mental health, it's good to have an animal.
How long have you worked here at Boutwell's, Corey?
I started in 2006, so in next month, in July, it'll be my 15-year anniversary. I have really enjoyed working for Boutwell's. I've come across some great residents as yourself. I meet wonderful people, and I think just real quickly, the best part of my job is that I get to talk to everybody every day and interact with every day. I mean, the cleaning is great, but that's the most important lesson that I get out of. I can stop in the hall and see how somebody's day is going, and it makes my day.
Generally, so how have you been treated?
I think I've been treated fairly. I mean, I think that sometimes when we don't get the things that we want, we tend to get upset, whether it be a promotion or, we have an assigned task. And I think over the years I've learned why I get the task that I get. And but overall I think Boutwell's been great. Perfect example is when my mom stayed here really quick. They treated my mom with respect. They took good care of my mom. They knew it was my mom. I never had to worry about my mom being here, and they always took care of my mom. Always.
What satisfaction do you get by coming to work?
Oh, the satisfaction I get is not only am I providing a service and and I have a job, and obviously you're getting paid, but again, it's the relationships. And I get satisfaction out of trying to help people, whether it be talking to them, stopping in the hall and creating smiles in their eyes, or asking something about somebody's day, or solving a problem, or even helping them do something. I take satisfaction in that every day. That's one of the cool things about working at Boutwell's.
Are there other positive aspects about the work environment that you like and that you have adjusted to?
Yeah, well, I think, when we first, as in our first segment, we were talking about race. I think when I first came here, we didn't talk about a lot about that, or that wasn't a topic we really talked about. But I think in general, over the years, people like Wendy, people like Jackie, people, different management, we've had, conversations about things like that when I don't think that I'm being treated fairly. They have always had an open door for me to voice my concerns. Wendy has always been good with me. We talk about stuff all the time, and I know that if something isn't right, that's the first person I'm going to go talk to. And Wendy is always, that's the one thing I can say, Wendy has always been there.
I recall, I think, a situation, I'm not sure how I learned about this, but one of the female staff people, I think we were over at the park for some reason, and she said, "Hey, boy, go get me some coffee."
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. So you're asking what was my response and what I thought of that? Is that what
Yeah.
you? Well, in this day and age, I have understood, first of all, that's not really the correct terminology to say that to somebody, but you also have to take in the consideration and the factors. We were talking about race. When you're an old, and I don't mean old people, I don't like to use the word old people, I use old generation of elders. So I want to make sure I get that very clear, because I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody of that age or so forth. I think that we're in different generation now, with times. Back then, that's the way they talked, and that's what we were talked about in our first segment, really. I've heard things, my mother was going to say, "Hey, boy," my mother used to tell me, they're going to say, "Hey, boy," or they're going to call you an epithet, "Hey, boy, you better go do this, you better do that." I grew up in that type of era growing up, and my mother did, and my grandma did too. So, as far as the way it made me feel, it really didn't bother me, because I'm equipped to deal with that better now than I was when I was younger. Now, if I was younger and had worked a job and somebody said that to me, I probably would have went off. But see, my mother and my dad prepared me for those kind of situations to the point where we can deal with it when it needs to be dealt with. Not react so quickly, and think about what you're doing and think about what you're saying.
Well, I understand that person who did that was rewarded by being transferred out of here.
Yeah. Well, I think that in that situation, that management probably dealt with it, and management talked to me about that, and they brought me into the office and asked me how I felt about that, and obviously, I told them how I really feel, and I think that, that being transparent, I think that they dealt with it the way they needed to deal with it in that situation.
Now you have a question for me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Were you ever born to be a racist, or have you ever been racist?
Yes, my family was racist, and I think I probably was racist up until the time I went into the Army.
Okay.
And when you eat, sleep, and train with black people, that disappears. The best friends I had when I spent 3 years in the Army were people of different color.
Okay, well,
And I wouldn't consider myself a racist today, but I was.
yeah,
And I went to school, Corey, with black people.
mm-hmm.
I lived next door to them. But my family definitely was, and that impacted on me, but I changed.
And that's where I was gonna go with real quick before you go to your next question or whatever. I think, just to make a brief observation, I think when we talk about people that are that way, or that are racist, or most of them, it's a generation. They've been taught to do that. I think it's taught. It's not, you're not born with it. You don't know about it. It's taught. And I think that when we teach that to our kids, or their kids, they grow up to be that way. I think it's a learned habit.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, what do you think would the value of offering anti-racist classes in education benefit our democracy?
I think it would help a little bit. Obviously, I don't think it would solve every single problem, but I think when you do that, you build awareness, you build you understand what other people of color are going through, and in a time like this, I think maybe classes would be good. But I also think that you have to, like you said, you can't learn everything, but I think it would help a little bit. But, I think that the question is, with this young generation, would they want to learn to be that? I mean, would they want to go to classes like that? But if they were offered in the schools when you're young or when you're in high school, that'd be the perfect time to learn that.
What about offering anti-racist classes to residents in this complex?
Well, that's also a good question. I think that would benefit because, or I'll take one step up. Either it would be nice for Boutwells to bring in, either, like a person of color to share their story, or maybe once a month learn about somebody, and what their culture is and what they have to offer. I think that I haven't had a chance to talk to Wendy about that, but bring somebody in, like 1 week, maybe have me come in and talk to residents about my experience as being an African American. Maybe once a month or once every couple months, bring somebody in and learn their story, learn about them.
The culture?
Yep, exactly. Their culture, how they grew up. And I think that that could be a great way of people to learn about, what it's like to be a person of color.
Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I think that this is great. I think that, I hope when residents are listening to us talk, that they're learning, they're understanding, a little bit about me, my culture, and what it's like for me to be an African American and get up every day and look in the mirror and say, okay, we got a lot of these injustices going on, with George Floyd, we got the police out here, just real quickly, we got police out here, the police shootings of African Americans. And the thing I will say real quick is that I think it all starts at home. We have to remember that these these young men who are African Americans sometimes only have a single parent home where a mom can't control her kid, or there's no father figure in that kid's life. And I think that some of that is to attribute to it, but also, just real quickly, we as as Black Americans, we have to stop the black on black crime. That's a part of the problem as well in this society. And when people that are not Black, like white people, see all this black on black crime, that's where a lot of those stereotypes come from.
I spent a year in the Philippines, and I was discriminated against because I was the only white among the colored
Wow.
population. I can't think of a specific example, but I felt it a number of times when I was there. Corey,
How did that make you feel? Let me ask you that real quick. How did you feel?
well, I felt like a loser because here I thought I was superior, and who were these people to tell me what to do and treat me differently?
Okay, yeah.
So I've been there, done that, so to speak.
Yeah, see, you haven't been, but you felt what it's like for
Oh,
a
yeah.
person to go through that. And I think that more people, as we talk and we have these talks, the first key to success is we have to have these uncomfortable talks. We have to talk about things, whether it be race, because obviously in this world, race is the number one topic right now. And I think we can't sugarcoat it. And the reason why I think we have a lot of problems in the community is not just because of the police. That's one of the issues. But I think the other issue is us as Black individuals, we have to sit down and learn to handle our differences a different way instead of shooting
In
and
our
shooting
history,
people.
the Tulsa thing is a good example
Yep.
of what happened 100 years ago.
Yeah, the Tulsa, black, yep. And the only thing I'll say about that is, those things weren't taught in school. I've asked a lot of people over this week, did you even know about that? And a lot of people be like, no. And you know why? It's because those kind of things in history were not taught. I knew about that stuff because my folks told me about that. And one of the reasons, obviously, that they built that, the Blacks built that, and then there was a false report of a Black guy saying that they had raped a white lady,
Yes.
and they went in there and tore that place up. And see, a lot of other people don't know that, David. So I think that we have to have transparency when we talk about these issues, whether it be the police, whether it be our own communities, and
I like that word, transparency.
yeah, I've said this real quickly. I've said this over and over again to people I talk. Until we have real transparency, you're not going to have change. I don't care. We can talk till we're blue in the face. We have to have transparency. We have to have police that are. We have to weed out and reform and get the bad people out of there. The bad people and the bad apples out of there. It all starts with that. But I mean, policing is just a small part of the problem. That's not everything. It all starts with us as well.
Corey, Morris and I are honored to have you here in the chat with David and Morris.
Oh, well, I want to tell you, it's always a pleasure. I miss talking to the residents. I miss talking with you. So I want to thank you and Morris. Yes, you included there over there, buddy. Yeah. So I want to appreciate the time that you've given me to have this platform to talk about these issues, and I hope that this will be a bridge for either Bob Wells, some of the ideas that I brought up, or maybe, whether it be a group or something, we can continue to have good dialogue. Because until we don't have that, we're not doing any good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.